This is episode 260. Dada always wants a hug, idiot.
This week we do our String Joy gift card giveaway. We're talking about power supplies. We're talking about the rest of the pedal boards, cover songs, combo amps. My God, there's a lot of guitar stuff in here.
This is a lot. This is a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Check it out.
All right. Do it. And catchphrase.
It's the tone control. Sorry. That is the catchphrase.
Oh, the catchphrase is, it's the tone control. Get ready. Boom. Fresh off the heels of insulting someone on Discord casually, we're back with a brand new episode. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm feeling a little sick today.
Yeah.
Just general malaise. So if I am slightly less witty and fun, and then it's that. And if I'm not, then it's just because I'm unkillable.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I had a real shit day today.
Did you?
Just a bad one. Bad one. Bad work day.
Okay. I don't like to hear that.
It sucked, man. It just sucked. You know what happens sometimes in the work that I do is I'll get a project and they're like, hey, you're good at this. Go do this. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
I like that. You know, we trust you, the confidence, like, cool. I do it. Everybody's like, oh, we were right. You are great at this. Good job.
Way to not blow that.
Feeling good, and this was 2 weeks ago. And so then today, late last week,
let me
email
guess.
comes
hey,
in.
You're good at something completely different from this. Try this.
No.
Okay.
Hey, it's not too far, but off. But yeah. So, hey, actually, I was looking at all the great work you did. Great work, by the way. What if we did the opposite?
Bad work?
Pretty much. Yeah. That's what,
bad work?
That's what it felt like. Yeah. What if we did the opposite thing? And like, so now that email came in Thursday, which I was out of the office for. I was very annoyed about that and annoyed about it all weekend, and then had a meeting about it today we're going to find out if it was a big waste of time in this meeting today. And it was. So I don't like that.
Nope.
I do not like that.
That sounds bad start to finish.
Yeah, it was not cool, man. So whatever, I will eventually get over it, and it's just a thing that happens sometimes. Yeah. God damn it, it is the worst. It's like you give anybody enough time and they're going to come up with actually I don't like this reason. And it happens in all different areas of work, not just my job, but like it happened at my old job, it happens in bands, it happens all across the board. It's just this like, actually I've been thinking and I want to do the other thing that we agreed not to do.
Remember all that discussion and thought we put into it? I'm just going to sidestep that entire thing.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did a little bit of like, when I say things like blah, 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 as I said 2 weeks ago in this same meeting, this is what I'm talking about.
Right.
This is what I meant. By those exact words, I meant those exact words. Weird. So anyway, I'm just like fired up about that still. Yeah. So it's just an irritating, like, and I'm not going to not do the work, right? I'm not going to like avoid the goal because it's ultimately the right choice for the project and stuff like that. But like, project planning and just communication in general, there's a better way to do that than me wasting a whole damn week doing a bunch of work that we're not going to hang on to. So thanks for nothing. But anyway.
Thanks for frigging up.
So, but it was a beautiful day here and I went for a walk on my lunch break and
it's like 70
it was a rage
here.
walk.
Whew.
Yeah. It was an angry walk, I'm not going to lie. But
angry walk.
It was nice because I started a new audiobook and I'm listening to David Tennant read War of the Worlds
Okay.
by H.G. Wells. And
Yeah.
I'm just in. I'm in. I'm here for it. So,
All right. Yeah, it sounds great.
yeah. It's good.
Wonderful.
What's up with you? Besides being sick.
Yeah, I started feeling a little ill. Anyway, whatever. It's not a huge deal, but it's irritating. And okay, yesterday,
It's a day of irritation, Justin.
hanging out. Yeah, yesterday hanging out, doing random stuff in the day. Made some lunch. I made some homemade tomato soup, which is pretty good. I'm getting pretty good at that.
Yeah, I like
And
that.
so we're eating that. We're gonna sit down. With the kiddo, my wife, and my wife, and we're gonna play Settlers of Catan Jr.,
Cool.
which is exactly what it sounds like it is. And then I get this text from Rich over at the monastery, and he says, "Hey, are you close?"
Uh-oh.
And I went, exactly. I said, "Uh-oh."
And then
And
you
I
do that
go
like,
and
what
look.
day is it? Kind of.
And I was like, I looked at my calendar because I knew I had monastery sessions coming up, and they were for next Saturday. So I'm like, did Rich tell me the wrong day? And I go look at the text message. No, it says I have a session today. It is not the session that I thought was next Saturday, because that is also a session.
So,
it is
there
just
are two
one that
sessions.
I
Yeah.
straight up didn't write down. And I was like, fuck. Like, this is not who I am. This is not what I want to be. And I was like, I am in the car. I'm going to be there in 24 minutes. I am so sorry. Like, I like go in, and there's the band is standing there. Rich is standing there. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm such an idiot. And everybody's like so casual. Everybody's just like, oh, hey, man. And Rich says, well, funnily enough, I did give the wrong day to the guy who was going to be your assistant. So I thought, well, shoot, he doesn't have an assistant.
Oh, cool.
I better roll in and help him set up. So Rich was there setting up the kit. We were doing drums. Rich is setting up the kit, putting mics up and stuff when I got there, and it's like no sweat. But I was like, I'm not really a fuck up. Like, hello, nice to meet you, everybody. Like, I'm going to be doing a great job. And I was like, oh man. And then I was like sweating the whole way there. The session went great. It was these two ladies who are making music and then basically hired a drummer in. I'd not met him before or worked with him before, but he was great. Kind of a loud drummer. It worked out good.
Okay.
It worked out really good. I did just, things clipping in all the right ways. It's kind of one of these situations. No, the kit sounded great. His playing sounded great. We blasted out everything in under our time limit, and it was awesome.
Nice.
And then, I'm like, it's just everything was fine once I got there. But boy,
Yeah, but then you
sweating
get
that.
in and you're like so flustered and like scattered.
Exactly.
And
I settled
I mean,
in quick, and it was all right. But yeah.
Yeah. Is it Rich?
Rich.
Rich.
It says RIC, but he says Rich. I think
so
it is
Rich,
short for Richard. So
Rich knows you're not like this, and it's probably like something's up. Like, you've been working with him for a long time, so he's got to be like, Justin's not this kind of person. He knows that you're not a fuck up, but still, it's a little bit like you don't ever want to have that one time.
Yeah,
because remember that time I was late.
Right, exactly, exactly, and I guess the band, they must have been like texting with him later or something. They must have been raving. It came out great. They were having a great time. They must have been raving. Today he texts me and says like, thanks again for doing these things on short notice. Like, you're a real asset to the studio. And I'm like, this is the opposite of what I was sort of expecting as the outcome of the situation, but like,
that's great.
I appreciate that. But also, I said to him, like, I am really sweating the fact that I feel like you are worried that I'm going to turn up on time now, because this just happened. But I just want you to know, like, I'm really, I'm not making excuses and all this shit.
I know what
it's
you mean.
Wild,
there's always like, everybody just has stuff sometimes that just like gone. So, man, that's shitty. But also good. Like,
it was fine. Yeah. And I clearly was the one who was sweating it the most, which is good. So whatever. But but the drums came out awesome. And even though I didn't realize I was working on a Sunday, I did it and it was good. So
you know what else came out awesome?
What?
Hard pivot. My new tattoo.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're
which
doing
is very itchy.
No, this is the tattoo's getting a sound effect. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
We're going to do this classic.
Oh, yeah. Look at my naked arm.
Scandalous.
So, I know. I can't really do this like in a way that's like cool with my microphone, but I still have my derm, my bandage on.
He's still covered.
I still, it's so itchy underneath, man. And it's like, there was a lot of bleeding and plasma-ing and inking going on. So by the end, I certainly was like very drippy. And this is the second skin material. It's the only thing I've used for my tattoos. And it's great because it just fully contains everything. You don't have to worry about showering or being out in the world or wearing long sleeves or anything like that. So once it's on and like it's dry underneath and stuff, it's fine and comfortable enough. But those first couple of days are real shitty because like the bandage fills
oozing.
up.
It
Fills up with ooze. And it's like you can push it around underneath the surface.
Yeah.
And this is so big that it's actually two pieces of bandage stuck together, and it popped open and leaked overnight. So I
wash all your sheets and shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wake up in the middle of the night because Jack was up, and I'm like in there, and I'm like, why am I wet? Thinking like it's him, thinking like he had a blowout or something like that, which doesn't really happen anymore.
Why is there shit on my arm?
But I like touch it and it's like slimy.
Yeah.
It's like the plasma and it's like, oh my God. And then I go in the bedroom and like there's ink on the sheets. I'm like, fuck. So it's like 3 a.m. and I'm like scotch taping and plastic wrapping my arm so I can go back to bed.
Wrap. That's Derek, in my day, that's what we had to do with our tattoos. I had to wrap plastic around my arm, cellophane wrap.
Yeah, so I did that.
And it was
then
also slimy.
Gross, yeah. So the next morning, I switched the bandage, and now this stays on till the end of the week. But yeah, so it's like all dry and crusty and cracky underneath, and like the edges of the lines are all like shitty and stuff because blood and ink and shit are just like
out. You don't know what it looks like anymore.
Yeah, so it looks bad right now, and I'm like, oh man. And I went like most of today, not even looking at it, and I was like, oh. So anyway. Yeah, man, it was like a 7-hour session.
Yeah, you did that all at once. I was like looking at the timestamps on pictures and going, you just did that in one setting, dog. Man.
It was long, and my first one was 2, and it really was only 2 because we got to a point where it was like, boy, if we keep going, we're going to run over. Right. Yeah. And so we did two abbreviated sessions just because it was like better timing wise. It had a good stopping point for the first one. And this was like, if we stop at any point moving forward, it's going to just look straight up incomplete. So, and I have to reschedule and like an option technically, but annoying. I have to wait like 2-3 weeks between sessions and stuff to heal up. And it's also, I'll be honest, incredibly unpleasant. So
it's not, I mean, at a certain point, even if it's a fucking 7-hour day, sitting in the chair,
still like,
you get it done.
Still sucks. It hurts. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The shit hurts. So, but it's done. And soon it will be revealed.
It's cool. It looked great on the day.
It did, which is,
although it was mirrored to me, which I had to accept.
Fine.
Because you took a picture in a mirror.
Yeah, well, I couldn't like selfie it right. My arm wasn't long enough to get the whole thing in the frame. It's a big sucker. It goes from like the crest of my shoulder down to my elbow. It's large and quite in charge. So anyway, that's what's going on here. But yeah, I'm excited for it. Should we talk about a giveaway?
Yeah, so we pulled a giveaway at the end of the last episode, and I put that crap up, and sure enough, people did come into Discord and click the reaction on the thingy. And shortly before coming on, I pulled them. And I pulled 3 random numbers off of that total. Should I have punctuated this with a sound? Let's see. Oh, a little gentle one.
Giveaway time. Yeah.
So I pulled 3 random numbers. one of them was Derek.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, Derek was in there. I noticed. So I was like, shit. So I re-rolled that one, obviously.
I did that because I thought you had used a reaction emoji that was a nitro feature. And I was like, I need to start it so other people can click it. Because there was nobody there yet, but it wasn't that. So I was like, okay. Just whatever.
Well, that would have been a good call then, because I don't think I would have known the difference.
But it wasn't, so you're fine. But
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway. Congrats to Eric, Nick, and Andrew. You guys are now the proud winners of, maybe not proud, but you're the winners of $15.
Proud, I don't know.
A $15 Stringjoy gift card. And what I want to know from the folks in the tone control community is what places would you like us to do giveaways for in this kind of thing of like a handful of low cost gift cards and stuff. Obviously, in the past we've done Reverb. That's still on our minds. Stringjoy is always a winner.
I would say we shape it to what's like a reasonable thing, right? So Stringjoy, like we landed on 15 because that's what's going to get you something at Stringjoy. So that it's an appropriate amount. So
I was thinking about honey picks.
Yeah, honey picks.
That'd be a good one. But yeah, sound off in Discord. Let us know what you'd like to do a giveaway for.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll do this every couple of months.
Yeah, I dig it.
Like 4 episodes or something.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Shit. All right. What in God's name?
Want to talk about power supplies?
Okay. It's time to talk about power supplies. All right, hold on. Wait. What am I? Hold on.
I don't know what you're doing.
I just completely forgot how to podcast.
There we go.
Here's a power supply. Hold on.
Yeah.
It's very dusty. This is my
That's
power
yours,
supply. Yeah.
So actually, do me a favor.
Nasty.
Pull up the other tab for the DC7.
Okay. DC7. All right, here we go.
Yeah. So it's spelled CIOKS, but it's pronounced Cioks. Okay.
It's not pronounced Cox.
No. Okay. It's also not clocks. It's Cioks. So the DC7 has been around for a while, but what's been around for a lot longer of a while is my old Pedal Power 2 from Voodoo Lab that I had as part of my main rig for literally 20 years. It says right on the bottom, it said manufactured 2004. And it kicked so much ass for so long. And honestly, the only reason I didn't get rid of it because it stopped working. Like that's a critical detail here. I got rid of it because I was up against the ceiling of what it was capable of powering.
Oh, okay. You do eventually find that. Yeah.
Yeah. And with high current pedals like Strymon stuff, the HX Stomp, and some other things, the Pedal Power 2 can do it, but not super well. Like it's power, so it either works or it doesn't really. Right. But it's like I would have to use a jumper cable that I'm limiting the number of ports on my power supply, things like that. So I was running my Strymon timeline from it with a bunch of other things and using the original power supply for the Stomp, which as some may know is absurdly shaped and oriented. It's a terrible design. But that was like pinched underneath my board using the courtesy output on the Pedal Power 2. Anyway, so I was like, you know what? All of this started because we're getting ready for this gig in April, and I definitely don't need the timeline. It's just taking up room, and it's way too many delay sounds. If I even need a delay sound, I probably don't for this show, which is Pop Goes Punk. So, it's all like...
Really, I think there'd be delay all over that. Anyway.
But not enough to need the timeline, I guess. Not with that level of control.
Yeah.
And I just got a Strymon Flint a little while ago, and I wanted to use that, and I have another analog delay. Like, that would fit really well in this space on my board, but I can't power them effectively because of how all of my power stuff is oriented and the like semi-permanent cable runs that I've made that are zip tied to the board itself. So like it was all built using the IO of the back of the Stomp and the timeline in unison as like one piece. So the DC7 has been on my radar for a while, partly because look how fucking slim it is. It's literally 1 inch thick. And any of these outputs, these 7 outputs are high current. So you can orient it any which way you need to, as well as 9 volt, 12 volt, 15 volt, and 18 volt on any of them using a series of dip switches. So it's not just one port that's dedicated to the different values. It's all of them.
So it looks like, it looks like the current does drop off as the voltage goes up. Basically,
Correct.
if you configure it, so at 9, it's 660 milliamps, and then by the time it gets all the way up to 18, it's 330, which makes perfect sense.
Correct. Yeah. So, but I'm able to run my timeline on one port. And I know that's like how all other pedals work, but for a power hog, like the Strymon, the big Strymon stuff, or honestly, any Strymon stuff is high current. That's really nice to have. So I have the Walrus audio
meter too.
Yeah. So, and it's also got a 5 volt USB on it, just for like charging a tablet or something like that. And then there's a 24 volt out on it as well that will connect to other, you can daisy chain these power supplies together.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to find
Enter now.
Different pictures. Okay, it doesn't matter. Enter now.
The Crux. So the Cioks Crux has been created specifically for powering the mega high current stuff like the HX Stomp, HX Effects, the Neural Quad Cortex, things like that. And so what this does is it takes the 24 volt from the DC7 and converts it to 9 or 12 volt and has the output right there for that one pedal. So you can safely power these
just clocks onto the side of it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's the same profile. It's 1 inch by, whatever the other dimensions are. So it still will fit in the rails underneath the pedal train. It's fucking great design. And so it's got like between like the load meter and like the way you can connect all of these things together, it's really hard to say no to. So I sold my Pedal Power 2 and a couple of pedals I wasn't using and got this stuff for, under $100 out of pocket. So
nice.
I'm still waiting. I had to order the Crux from Sweetwater, and that should be here by the end of the week. But it's like fucking awesome. And it's got all these different, the power connector on the supply itself is an RCA connector. And then there's a barrel on the other end that goes into your pedal. Yeah. So there's all these different, they make a million different connector types that are on the other end of the RCA. So you can do like, the Line 6 barrel connector is a different shape. There's like the long depth ones. There's the, what is it? Like the headphone or the mini plug style power. There's like a zillion kinds. And you can still
stupid,
jump.
By the way, but.
It is. Some old EHX pedals do that. My small clone does.
External
There's the
pins.
battery connector one. There's like all sorts of things, including a daisy chain. Like you can just regularly daisy chain traditional pedals with it. And what else? There was one more. I can't forget. Oh, so you can still jump ports on the DC7 if you wanted. The only thing is, if you were to power something like a Neural DSP Quad Cortex, you would have to jump 4 ports to get the power it needs off of this one supply. And at that point, like just plug in the wall wart that it came with, You've got a 7 output supply that you're using 4 of for one pedal.
Well, you've still got 3 more, and if the rest of your pedals are regular old run-of-the-mill things, then they only need, 50 milliamps or something.
That's true. You could daisy chain, no problem. Yeah. So I'm in the middle of like totally overhauling my pedal board right now, based mostly on upgrading the power for more accessibility for myself. Mm-hmm. And one thing I really like to do is like the HX Stomp, I've talked about this a lot, but the HX Stomp kind of lives as the main focal point of the board. It is the main brain of everything. All the other pedals are in the effects loop of the Stomp. I go in and out of it and stuff like that. And it's been an amazing setup for me. The power configuration, though, under my board has been a rat's nest of the worst degree for a long time. And I think other things like the little jumper for the timeline was starting to fail. It wouldn't power on sometimes. So
junk did you send for this bit too?
I did. Yeah, it should be here Friday.
Cool.
So it's great. Like it makes it so much easier. And the fact that the DC7 also has a load meter on it is like just bonus.
I know, because that's the thing. If you start loading up a bunch of stuff, it can be a little concerning. Like, am I doing something wrong here? Is something going to fail?
And I trusted it. Honestly, if the Pedal Power 2 still gave me these high current options, I would have never gotten rid of it because it would have been exactly what I needed. So I still stand by that product as like a workhorse staple of the industry practically. I don't even think they make it anymore, but it's just one of the best for a reason. So, but the Cioks is like so thin. It's so much lighter weight. The thickness is like the vertical dimension of an IEC connector. It is no bigger than the plug to the mains. It's amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
So this brings us to the next thing, more or less.
So which does.
Oh, hit me with the next thing.
Oh, the next thing is, I don't know what to do. Here's one.
Neat.
Next thing,
as I do now, I posted in the server just hours before we came on to record tonight, like, hey, what should this episode be about? And we just did NAMM, and there's like not a ton going on after NAMM. So, but somebody asked, let me see, K52 in the server asked, talk about my new pedal board, and I said, don't threaten me with a good time.
Okay.
He said, so right now on the board is the 1981 DRV and the Foxcatcher and some other things. And he said, I'm curious about the Foxcatcher. Also, I'm going back and forth between getting a combo amp versus getting a small head and a 112 cab. And then there was some conversation about the amp thing and the idea behind the amp and cab being that you can mix and match some stuff.
Right.
Amps with different cabs. So first, the Foxcatcher, just get one. It's great. You're not going to be disappointed in it. It's very good. It is a Blues Breaker style overdrive, like the Marshall Blues Breaker, and there's a built-in gravity bomb boost on it that you can. There's an order switcher as well. It's fabulous. So, here we go. Justin with the big link. Perfect. It's great.
Found it.
Yep.
Foxcatcher. It's good. It's got a black knob.
It's very good. It runs up to 18 volts, which is also very cool. And it's pretty low to medium gain if you are looking for like a really distortion-y, really drivey overdrive. Maybe look elsewhere, but I think for what most people are doing most of the time, like this is absolutely great. It's got tone and what they call a nature control, which is kind of like a presence type of thing. I don't actually know exactly what it does, but it is not the same as tone, and they work together in a very interesting way. Lately, I've been experimenting with the tone at 0 and the nature at 10, and it's a really fun, cool sound. I don't have it set up in here right now, but it's a very cool sound. But anyway, my point is, like, I keep the drive pretty high on this thing. Your mileage may vary, but just expect, like, if you're looking for like a chunky rhythm tone, you're going to have that drive knob up most of the way. Nothing wrong with that, but just might be worth noting. It's great. I like these sort of dual overdrives that have either two sounds or a sound and a boost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an awesome add for no extra real estate on your board.
Basically,
and with the Foxcatcher, having the order switcher is handy too, because it allows for more flexibility.
I mean, that's where
also
you get extra gain out of it.
Yeah, so you can do like a saturation thing or a volume thing. And it also allows for a little more flexibility with other pedals, other overdrives. Mm-hmm. So you can choose where that boost goes in relation to other drives as well, whether it's in between them, ahead of both, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's really good. They've been making it for years, and it slaps. So just get one. Like I have a hard time thinking anyone would actively dislike it. So, but then the thing about combo amp versus small head and cab.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about this in a little while. What do you think?
Well, okay. I tend to think combo amp is probably cheaper.
Yeah.
But So if that's a concern, then the answer is probably combo amp. But like small head and cab, then you end up with like your little 5-watt thing with like recording outputs and stuff like that. I mean, that's the world of small amp head has come a long, long way and puts you into the zone of those sorts of things, having recording out, digital outputs or power managed outputs one way or the other. What is it? The torpedoes built into them or something.
Well, now what about a combo with those features? Because those exist as well.
That's what I started to say this, and then I'm like, yeah, but like, why wouldn't that just be in a combo then also? So maybe it comes down to you really do like assuming these products are available, like you do kind of want the combo unless you're the kind of person who's like taking this speaker one day and a larger speaker the next day. Because like the speaker has a lot to do with how loud an amp actually is. It's not the whole thing, like a 5-watt tube amp is still going to be a 5-watt tube amp, but like plugged into a 212 sounds very different than plugged into a 112 or a 110 or whatever,
Yeah, definitely.
So
I think it's maybe worth mentioning. I didn't get a head and cab until I went ampless for my kind of quote unquote real playing, because convenience factor. Like I wanted to roll in with as few things as possible, basically always. So combos, checked that box immediately. I had big combos, but
you had a
it was still
combo that was fucking
monstrously
yeah,
heavy.
It was like
the
Fender
heaviest
Twin
fucking
loud.
thing. So loud, so heavy. And then I had an AC30, which was
also very
not
loud.
as loud, but still righteously loud and still very heavy. A much better shape though, much easier to carry with two people than the DeVille was.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I have 2 heads and 2 cabs now, but they've never left my house. Right? So
Yeah.
I mean, the Rev has, but I've only brought it to rehearsal. But if I brought it to a gig, I'd still be focusing on going ampless. You know what I mean? Because it just offers me a better consistency.
Yeah.
So I think if the sell to you is, I want to use multiple cabs, if that's the goal, to like mix and match cabs and have fun with that, obviously there's your answer, right? Do the head and cab thing. But the other side is like, if you're planning on taking this anywhere, you got to factor in if that's a deal for you or not.
It's funny. In my head, I sort of think about a separate head and cab as being sort of more transportable because you've got 2, assuming they're roughly the same, right? Like if we're talking a 212 versus a 212,
yeah, it's probably the
head,
size of an AC30. Yeah,
then it's like at that point you're kind of, each thing is lighter and somewhat smaller, although the cab is probably not smaller than the combo would be. Not realistically, the more I think about it.
Well, so I'm thinking of it like I have the Rev D20 and they now make a cab or a combo version of that amp.
Yeah.
With all the same stuff. It's just got the cab built right in.
Would you go for that?
Yeah. They didn't have it. It wasn't on the market when I bought this, but I would totally consider it. It's 25 watts instead of 20. But yeah, I would seriously look at it.
Okay.
It's got all the same bells and whistles. It's just including a speaker.
Yeah.
But then like I'm always curious about things like Fender, for example, that are just combo brands, right? Like, yeah, they make heads and other stuff, but you never see a Fender twin head really, or a deluxe head and cab, right? It's always combos. So I don't know. I think it's more of like a lifestyle choice than, and the sounds you want, of course. Like if you want to sound like you have a deluxe, then get a deluxe, but which happens to be a combo. So
it's, God, there's this like idea that I'm trying to find the words about, and they're not.
They're not coming together.
They're not coming together for. I the more I think about it, I guess the combo is more practical, but for like as far as carrying it around is concerned, on the 112 kind of level. But as soon as you're considering going bigger than that, then you're going to be like, well, now I'm getting a 212 cab and I'm taking the speaker out and I'm running my combo into that instead of into its own speaker. And then eventually I trade it in for a head instead kind of thing. But the moment you have like a 212 combo, we talk about how heavy those things are.
Heavy.
And
big. They take up a lot of room.
And that's
they're large.
where I think having like, that's a 212 and heads, and they're light. It makes them light enough that they're just a little easier to deal with, you know?
Yeah.
I think
2 individual items.
Right, exactly. Even though technically they take up more space that way, but they're I don't know, hauling that stuff around. I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have felt that way if it was really just a matter of putting the cover over that as a combo and then taking it away.
Yeah.
But I also this was a bunch of different transitions of gear too. When I was playing, you know, I had various heads. I had an Ampeg V4, and it was a cool old V4, but it wasn't that. It was worth more to somebody who cared about it being like old and stuff like that, which I didn't really. So it was like worth more to me as a collector's piece and that I could sell. And I got hooked up with the guy who was making these amps, and so I have these kind of homemade things. And so it was like,
you were running a 412 too for a spell.
I had a 412, and and I ran that together. And then eventually it was like, I don't need all this volume. I can cut down to a 212 and be saving myself quite a bit of weight and a little bit of space. And so that's what I did. I got down to a smaller cab, but never went to combo because I still like these amps. There was no reason,
of course, to
get rid of that.
Yeah,
So.
I don't.
So it's like a story that led me to this point. It wasn't that I didn't want a combo.
Well, I think there's a story that leads everyone to all of their gear purchases.
Yeah.
You know, I think so. So tell yourself this story. Like, what are the things you're looking to solve? Right. Yeah. Start there. What are the problems that this amp solution needs to solve? And then look through the market and figure out which product checks the most boxes for your budget, for your space, and your features, and all that stuff.
Yeah. Is a 112? Because I think he said he was looking at a 112, right?
Yeah, he did.
Is a 112 a stepping stone?
To a 212?
Right. Because
it depends on the kind of playing you're doing.
But that's the thing. That's the thing to think about. Is that if this is a stepping stone, then you go head cab, because you trade that cab in on a 212, you keep the same amp, and you're probably okay for a while, or you decide then later to trade in the amp. But if it's not, if it's like, no, this is where I want to live, and if I want to get something bigger, it would be an entirely separate thing than combo.
Yeah. I think it depends on the type of playing you're doing. If you're just hanging at home, then it's really either or, I think. But if you're, like you're saying, if you're playing at home with intent to gig or tour, like you may need more juice, right? You may need more output.
Yeah.
Or something like there, who knows? So I think just take the time. Like this, I don't think there's a rush. He says he's considering, or he says he's going back and forth between a combo and a small head and a 112. So I think maybe just for the purpose of like a use case study, check out the Rev D20 and the D25, because those are the same amp aside from 5 extra watts. It's all the same features and stuff. It's just one's a head and one's a combo. And see which, like, you know, take the circuitry out of it. Take the amp design out of it.
Cool. Do it.
You won't. Remember when people said that?
Yeah, I said it yesterday. I say it all the time. I say it to my daughter because you know what? She won't.
I reverse psychology my kid the other day, yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a classic old now. I don't want a hug. Yeah, he was being a little cheeky, and I was like, "Give me a hug," and he'd like run up to me and then like run away giggling and stuff like, "Oh, you stinker!"
Fucking scoundrel.
And so then every time, and then I was like, "Well, fine, now I don't want a hug," and then he came running over, like tackled me for a hug. I was like, "Ha ha! I did want a hug."
You were fooled by my subterfuge.
Yes. Dada always wants a hug, idiot.
You stupid child.
Anyway.
Your knowledge is tiny.
Just called my kid an idiot. One of my favorite things to do, like for real, is say, like, why are you being such a baby?
Oh. Hold on.
Hello.
Hey, girl. Okay, must be chilly. Here, give me a quick hug and go back to bed, okay? Say, I'm not a dummy.
I know.
Threw the peace signs and walks out.
Peace out. That's funny.
The thing about it is, you know, you tell a kid, I'm doing my podcast tonight. Mom's not home. So, like, please, if it's not an emergency, please don't interrupt me. And that includes all those things where you're just going to tell me, I feel a little weird. And I'm just going to say, I'm sorry to hear that. Now go back to sleep. The answer is go back to sleep. And sure enough, she comes to the door. I feel weird. I'm sorry to hear that. Go back to sleep. Still happens.
Sleep it off.
Yep.
It works every time.
Works every time. There is nothing else to be done, girl. And the thing is, you know it, and you came in here because you know I'm doing the podcast. That's the truth of it. But whatever. If I make a big deal out of it, then she'll be reverse psychologying me soon.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, dear. Well, anyway.
All right.
So.
What else are we doing? We're going to fire off something new. Here. I don't know what I'm going to do. So this one says short at the end of it. Let's see. All right.
That's an oldie. So, the next question comes from Cricket, friend of the show. He says, I'm sure you've maybe covered this already, but I don't think we have, to dive into how I go about learning covers for the band.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No,
Which
I've
I thought was a
learned a
great
couple
idea.
of covers in my, no, not really.
No, you have. You
I
and
have,
Mary,
but
you and
very
you and the
little.
missus do new arrangements even.
Yeah, but it's all about sort of simplifying it and making it work as a like acoustical duet kind of thing. So
right, but there's a method to that, which is taking the thing of a song and distilling it down so it's still recognizable as its thing with only one instrument.
Yeah, I suppose what you're paying attention to in that case is like, I mean, there's the chords basically, and like what's important about the melody that needs to be expressed in those chords, or can it just become the chords? Because it depends on what kind of song we're talking about. Sometimes there's a rhythmic identity that needs to be there, or it's not right. And then once we've got that,
rhythmic identity. Whoa, I like that a lot.
Well, you know what I mean? Like I can learn like this song, like I can look up, oh, what's this song? And it's like, okay, so we're at my folks' house a week or two ago, and Aria was like, she has her ukulele. She has a ukulele. And she was like, I want to like you to play Taylor Swift songs on this. And I was like, okay, well, all right. I mean, because Taylor Swift songs are typically like 3 chords, and the chorus is the same 3 chords in a different order. And that's not a criticism. That's fine. Like I like a lot of Taylor Swift songs.
Works. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. The question is, it's a ukulele, so I have no fucking idea. So it's
all different.
I just like find the now my brain's doing this thing where I don't know the chord shapes. But that was fun. But the issue is if you're just strumming it like a ukulele, it's probably not going to sound very much like that song. So that's what I mean by rhythmic identity. There's probably something in there that makes it sound like the song.
Yeah.
Besides just being the right chord.
And we do the same thing with the band, depending on the song and what the original arrangement is like, what the original instrumentation is like.
It.
Well, we may alter it, but we often say like, what are the pieces that have to be there to make it like a good cover, right? That you want to hear like that part.
There's the need to haves, and then the fun to haves, and then the extras. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and like it depends if you're doing the cover like, you know, bang on exact, or if you're kind of reimagining it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think let's say we're going to do a cover bang on exact for the band, which is most of our stuff.
Yeah.
There's only been a handful of times where I didn't know the song ahead of time that we were going into. So that's a huge difference right there. I think is if you know the song or not. I guess when I don't know the song, it's a much longer process because I have to become familiar with it enough to tune parts of it out so I can play over
what
it.
What are those got to haves, right?
Exactly. So I'll listen to it just a handful of times, just leading up to I'm going to play guitar tonight and try to learn this song. I'll listen to it a bunch of times throughout the day or in the days prior. just to get a feel and become familiar with like, and then there's this part, and I know then we go to the bridge, and like then the order and the structure, because playing along with a song you've never heard before sucks. Like it's not helpful, and it's just a waste of time, and so. But then I try to listen critically, which is easy to say and not always easy to do, depending on the music. Like we're covering
Do you
Vampire.
take it chronologically or like by instrument or what?
What do you mean?
Well, you said listen critically, so I'm imagining we're breaking it down. So are we saying, okay, let's focus on the verse until we have it? Or do you go, like, okay, now I want to listen to the bass, now I want to listen to and distill it that way?
I'm only focusing guitar mostly, unless there's something that's like really playing between all the instruments that's important to have. Okay. Rosanna by Toto is an example of this, where like each instrument is responsible for a thing that when together makes the whole gotta have. Yeah. Alternatively, there's plenty of songs we do that don't have guitar in the original recording. So what do you do then? Mm-hmm. Right. So we're doing Vampire. It's just a sheet music. It's all rests. We're doing Vampire by Olivia Rodrigo.
Yes.
And it's
all
not
over
a very
the Oscars, that song.
It's not a very
what did I say? Grammys. The Oscars.
It's not a very guitar-y song.
Anyway.
But with that, it's like, well, if it's not guitar-y, then it means it's probably not rock, right? Or punk or anything like that. So if we're going to cover a song like that, we're probably going to rockify it, to put it into the sounds our instruments can make. And then I'm listening when I say listen critically, I mean like rhythmic information. If there are guitars, what are they doing? Like I'm really focusing on just what the guitars are doing most of the time, which is not that different from my regular listening. Let's be real.
And then an average day.
There's a part of it that just comes with having played guitar for most of your life, where you can pick up and say, I bet it's this.
Sure.
And it's,
I don't have the experience of the neck.
Like I do not have perfect pitch, but I have pretty good relative pitch. So if I find where a chord progression starts, I have a pretty good hunch of where it's going to go next.
Reach. You know where you're going to reach for.
And for me, guitar playing is a lot of shape-based thinking. So chord patterns to me are like rhythms of like, it goes from like this to this to this. And I'm like thinking of it in that diagonal and orthogonal. Yeah. So it's like, it's this one. And then I know it. I don't have to think about learning this song. I think about like which chord pattern applies to this song, and I pull that out of my toolbox and play it.
Right.
So, I think for other covers, again, if it's like, we got to do the riff, right? If it doesn't have this riff, then it's not this song. So 99 Red Balloons, the cover by Goldfinger, we're doing that for Pop Goes Punk. And there's that riff in it. Dun, 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 dun. Like you need that part. And it's really, really fucking fun to play. It's a great part. It's one of those things that's like, we should not embellish this part, right? We should not add little bits that say like, look how cool we are at our instruments and this part of the song, because that's the hook. That's what people are waiting for, you know?
Yeah.
So for me, it's just a lot of like, this is how I learned guitar in the first place too, which is just playing along to music, playing along with my favorite bands and favorite songs and trying to learn them just by listening. And that's a huge skill to develop as a player. I think like training your ear is so important, and it gets you really far. And then you can say like, we got to learn this song this week. And I just don't have to sweat that. It's really nice to just be like, I'll learn it tonight. And it's not going to take me a week.
Learning the song becomes such a practiced skill in and of itself.
Yeah. And exactly. So it's that the combination of things. Like I listened to it ahead of time. I know when the changes are. That's a very important thing. I know the overall picture.
Do you write things down, or you're just getting it in your head?
Not usually. It depends on the song and if it's originally a guitar song or not. Because songs that were written on guitar you can tell. and songs that were like written on piano or
somebody's
something are
hand
not
made that on a guitar already, so you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. And aside from things like different tunings, like E flat or C sharp or whatever, but songs that were written on piano, for example, I can just say like, this is not a guitar song. Like it was not written and orchestrated with guitar as the main focus in mind, because it just doesn't fit right. You know, it's like, oh, if we put this all a half step lower, we'd have much more easygoing chord shapes. We'd have much more easygoing, like existing structures of guitardom that we could apply.
Yeah.
So like, do we capo it? Do we change the key? There's all those kinds of questions too. So there's a lot to consider. I've actually never really thought about it until right now as far as like articulating all of this, but it's cool.
Yeah.
It's fun. I like doing it a lot. Like it's fun to pick things apart. And then
it's rewarding because that's important because it's a bit of work. So if it wasn't fun, then yeah.
And then, you know, I will peek at tabs if I get confused. I really prefer Songster, which is SONGSTRR, I think it is, .com. And they have really great tabs that have like a player built in, and it'll play like a music head. And you can, if you're lucky, which most of the tabs have, there's like the song, and then within that you can see all the instruments in their own sheet music as well. So you can toggle between guitar 1 and 2, the lead part, the drum part, the bass part, and you can see who's playing what, and it like adjusts the levels for playback with that. So if you listen to the bass tab, the bass is really loud. And doing that has, like, that site in particular has helped me a ton. The tabs tend to always be correct, I've noticed. A lot of tab sites are notoriously awful.
Yeah, I've come across some where I just kind of go, well, you got me most of the way there, so it's like whatever. Well, actually, another thing about it, I'm not usually looking at tab. I'm just looking at like sort of a chord chart. Yeah. Yeah. That's what it is. So when I am looking for something, it is something like that. It's like, get me over the hump. Sometimes I'll listen to a song and kind of noodle and figure out like how far off am I going to be with this? And sometimes it's like, oh, everything's fine, but this chord, I can tell I'm getting some of the notes, but I don't have the gist of, I don't have the important part of what's making this chord sound like it does, because I don't have that much theory going on, right? To be able to say, this should be this inversion or something. So having that chord chart where it says, oh, well, see, it's a this, you know, with the add 7 or whatever the fuck. And that makes it, oh, okay, now I'm on board.
That specific note is the hook of that part or something.
Right.
Yeah. Or the flavor of that part that's so so distinguishable. Vampire is a really good example of this because it starts with piano, but I kind of follow it on guitar and stuff. And there's like the big hook in that is like the major to the minor B flat. But on guitar, a lot of times it's just, at least with what I'm doing, it's just root, fifth, and octave for these like big chords, big power chords and stuff. So there's not a lot of major or minor.
Because it's guitar and you have all those harmonics in there to begin with,
So major and minor third don't really come up too often unless necessary, because it adds a lot of sonic information to the sound. So in Vampire, where there's that major to minor change, you know, I'm not playing the third in the major, but I am in the minor. And
so it leaves space to be filled in the minor version.
Yeah. Because if you're playing it's this big loud song with like distortion and drums and everything. If you're playing 6 notes with that, like across if you're playing a full bar chord, it's just so much, and it can really cloud things up. So knowing when to add specific details of the voicing, like when I play, I've been doing this for years now. When I play a G major, like an open chord, I don't play the low B in it anymore, just because it's too muddy. I never do. And
this kind of goes back to like, what's the important thing? It isn't to make sure every note is in the chord in that setting. You know, you're not playing a solo acoustic guitar or something. So you need to get across the actual emotion of that chord, which is going to come from the other bits, right? And leaving that other thing out. And you got other band members that you need to leave space for and stuff too.
So right. That's the other thing is we have another guitarist who also plays keys a lot. So depending on what he's doing, like if he's on keys, I'm doing way more of the guitar focus. I'll be playing a little mix of both parts if there are two parts. But if he's on guitar, we're very clearly dividing the parts, divide and conquer on that stuff. Not just lead and rhythm, but more like the hook and the support, I think, which is not always lead and rhythm.
Right.
Sometimes it comes down to playing in unison to have the effect of playing in unison. Other times it's playing in unison, but in different registers, which is what we do a lot of the time. That's a pro tip for anyone with two guitarists. Just like if you're playing a low F.
Become a 12 string.
Yeah, play the high F and it just fills everything up. But so anyway, that's the deal, I guess, on me learning covers. I still kind of thinking about it now as we go. But yeah, it's fun to do. And I think one thing I've probably mentioned on the show before is learning music that's pretty outside of your typical playing and listening range is a great skill, a great way to build that kind of learning repertoire, like to learn how to learn kind of thing. I don't play metal, but I try to learn a lot of metal riffs because there's rudiment in that, right? There's a lot of technique and stuff that gets you a long way in these other genres that only can help you.
Right. Makes you stronger.
Speaking of covers. My thing of the week.
Hold on. Thing of the week sound. It's going to be this one. There's one I could have cut in half.
I don't remember that at all, but I know it's me. That's one of those things. Like I know I did that because that's how I play.
Right. You're right. Exactly. SSBS Mini.
Oh, Small Sound Big Sound Mini.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's an overdrive. It's got a bias control on it in a cool way.
Yeah.
It's the mini version of a pedal called Fuck. It's the Fuck overdrive. So anyway, I can carry this right into my thing of the week because it's a cover. I posted this in Discord last night. I don't know. Here, you can pull this up. I don't know if it's going to play sound at us or not, but
it can. I'm going to try to make it not because that's probably a bad thing to do.
Yeah. So it's this band called, was it Loner Youth, I guess? They've got one of those weird crosses through the O. And they did a metalcore cover of Wonderwall. And I saw it on my feed and I was like, that's a funny joke. I'll listen to that. That'll be fun. That'll be great. And then I was like, actually, this fucking rules. It is so good. It is so good. It's basically if Under Oath wrote Wonderwall. Okay. And they pull out all the tricks. All the tricks of that. It sounds like every band from back then. Yeah. All that weird like dissonant stuff, that weird like, the behind the nut sound and like all of these
the extra
things.
Guitar sounds that were just everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere. And like all like the doubled vocals, the screaming, the singing, the weird like electronic section. It has every feature.
Electronic section for some reason. Yeah.
Yeah. And they've got a few other covers I haven't listened to yet, but it's so interesting to hear how they're like, well, what are the pillars of metalcore? Like, what are the things that make metalcore? And when they figured that out, they can just apply it to it's just like a metalcore laser beam to any other song. Right?
That is a really interesting addendum to this conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, right. So I was thinking like, oh, what's my pick going to be? But when I saw that we were talking about this, I was like, actually, this cover from the other night is perfect because I was watching it like on my phone in the other room, and I came in. I was like, Beth, you have to see this, and I put it on the TV. And she was like, "This is really good." I'm like, "No, it's really good. It's so surprising." Like I thought it was going to be one of these funny, like, if Green Day were country, like you see that kind of thing all the time.
Fucking A.
But like they did the thing of what are the critical details of Wonderwall that need to carry through to the cover.
Yeah.
And what aren't. And it's not just lyrics and it's not just chords. It's the whole vibe. And they nail it absolutely on the head perfectly. So go listen to that song because it's so great. It's 4 minutes. Sure. And it's like they pull out every trick and you're like, there's that one, there's that one, there's that one.
Yep.
I love it.
It's fun. That's fun. Okay. It's on my list. It's on my list now. All right, I'll give you a pick of the week. Mine is a TV show we just discovered. Apparently it's not brand new. Apparently there's a couple of seasons out there, which I'm happy about.
I love this guy.
Yeah. So here's the question, Derek. Would you like to see Alan Tudyk pretend to be an alien pretending to be a human? No, hold on. That's a stupid question. Let me put this a different way. You can get to see Alan Tudyk pretending to be an alien, pretending to be a human. And all you have to do is go watch the show Resident Alien, which is on Netflix now. I don't know if it was made for a different channel at first, but it seems like Netflix just got the rights to it or something, or they just picked like 2 days ago to decide to recommend it to me. But we were like looking through like, what show should we watch next? And this thing comes up. And I basically watched this like sort of intro to it. And I said, yes, I do want to watch Alan Tudyk pretend to be an alien, pretending to be a human. And so far, it's great. We're 3 or 4 episodes in. It's silly, it's campy at times, but not like overly so. But they're definitely not trying to take themselves too seriously. It's very funny, and he is who he is, Alan Tudyk. I mean, and
he's so great. Like he's
the body
he's Steve
acting.
the pirate from he's Steve the pirate from Dodgeball. For those unfamiliar, he played K2 in Rogue One as well.
Yes,
he was on
voice
Firefly.
work that turns out to be great. Yes, the pilot in Firefly and Serenity.
He's
so
so
much
good.
fun. The face acting and the body acting in this show, and just the situations and like, because
to answer your question, yes, I do want to watch this.
Of course,
I really do.
That's why it was such a stupid question.
You know what it reminds me of is a book I read by Matt Haig called The Humans, which is. It's not, I thought for a second it might be based on this, but it's not. The Humans is like a pretty funny, clever look at what it is to be human from the perspective of a non-human. And it's like an alien that comes down and has to prevent something from happening on Earth from the future. And like, it's this whole, like, there's a little bit of time travel and stuff, but it's really just this alien lands on Earth and is like, what the fuck is this place? And it's really clever and looks at things like the one line I remember from this book so vividly is like he walks into somebody's room or some office or something. He's like, as is the case with most buildings and rooms on planet Earth, is an ode to the cube.
The cube.
Or an ode to the square. And I'm like, oh my God, it's true. Just like these little things. It's one of those books that's like, maybe we should be a little bit easier on each other, as humans. Like we're kind of in this together. But that sounds, it says right there, it was made for sci-fi.
Right. Yes. Made for sci-fi, also streaming on Peacock, it says in this poster. We're not watching it on that. So
maybe it's
I'm
the new season.
Pretty sure it's on Netflix that we're watching it. Yes, you can't update Chrome. I'm in the middle of something. Stupid computer. It's pretty great. We get a lot of we get a lot of his internal monologue about things too. So he'll be, in a room. It's always like a balance. Like, what's going to happen in this scene? Is he going to totally say the wrong thing, or is he going to think the wrong thing and then do something slightly less wrong instead? And we get to see the whole bit. His face is unbelievable.
Nice. Yeah, so, I think we would like that a lot.
Enjoying it so far.
Very cool.
To be
good
sure.
pick.
So yeah. That's it. That's all I have.
That's all we have, folks.
That's what it's going to be. So, yep. Better luck next time. Nope. That's not the right thing to say.
Yeah. So, hey, come hang out in Discord. Come, if you like what you hear, hit us up on Patreon. If you don't, then don't.
Yeah.
But there's also a link in the show notes to a newsletter, which will be your first little peek at when we do giveaways. I'm pretty sure we are only going to email about giveaways, which is apparently going to be like once every 60 days or something like that. So we just don't email that much. So there's no harm in getting on the email list.
If something else important happened, then it would be on there too, but we'll see.
Shout out to everyone who didn't unsubscribe to the most recent, which is, I said it's kind of a joke, but we had 0 unsubscribers for the news about the latest giveaway. So that's exciting. It means that everybody who's in there wants to be in there.
Right. I'm not a mailing list expert, but I bet that's a pretty low rate of unsubscribes.
I bet. I don't know if it gets much lower. So, yeah, get on that newsletter and find out when the giveaways are. Your next best chance to hear about when giveaways is to be in Discord and to listen to the show when we record it, like right now.
Right.
So,
yeah. And to be fair to everybody, whenever there's giveaways, obviously I'll let it run at least a week. But they might get posted in Discord before the episode actually comes out. So you might hear it there first.
Definitely. So anyway. He said editing the show notes really.
Copy and pasting furiously.
Yeah, he said formatting a Word document very quickly. Dink, there we go. Thanks to our Patreon supporters who this week include Rabbi Bob, Drohl, Carson Ricketts, Mathew Fenselau, Riesenwolf, Brian Gower of the Tone Jerks podcast. Justin has broken. Andrew Walsh of Andrew's Alcove, Sean Wright of Lollygagger Effects, Doug Gann, and as you can see, Guns N' Roses.
Oh, same name twice.
Same name. Dropping the ball, Guns N' Roses.
All right. Until next Tone Control week, you know what? This is how I'm going to do it. Until next Tone Control week, I've been your host, Justin.
And I'm Ron Burgundy.
Stay classy.